I'm not sure.
Is that the meeting or didn't happen? I didn't know what's important, so I saved everything.
Okay, let's call this call this meeting of the rescheduled regular meeting of February 22nd, 2018 to order. This is the Ojai Basin Groundwater Management Agency. Today is March 14th, 2018. Let's all stand. Actually, let's do the call to order, roll call, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
President Breen,
Here?
Director Finch,
Here.
Director Baggerly,
Here.
Director Johnston.
Here.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, those wishing to make comments need to fill a speaker card out. I currently have one speaker card in front of me. Let's go to item number 3, director announcements and reports. The mutuals would be me. I have nothing to report today, other than it's nice to see some water. I can tell you that Thatcher Creek, which runs through our neighborhood, Siete Robles, has been running for all week, and I went out there and it's about 8 to 10 feet across and 4 to 6 inches deep, and that is a rare sight coming through our neighborhood, and it's nice to see that.
It must be a broken pipe, there's not that much.
What I can tell you is,
On my property, there is nothing running
Yeah.
in Thatcher Creek.
yeah,
There's gotta be a
About,
broken.
upstream of you, about a half a mile.
yeah, I know.
Do we need to call that in?
What I can tell you is that right before the storms got going, Sam Hill came into our neighborhood and excavated about 4 feet of debris from the back of our neighborhood on Long's property all the way through Vereda and about 40 feet past Vereda. So what we have right now is literally a settling pond that's maybe 100 feet long, maybe 4 to 5 feet deep, where that water's settling in. So as more water kind of trickles in, it kind of still oozes down. So
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
but I'm not seeing anything
Well,
in Thatcher Creek. in my
it's jumping out of the ground right in our neighborhood. It's milky chocolatey, but it's definitely there. And having lived there for 25 years now, it's not something we see a lot of. So I can say that we are seeing that right now. Ojai Water Conservation District, anything to report?
No meeting, nothing to report.
All right. City of Ojai, anything to report?
Nope.
Okay. We did make a presentation to you your last meeting.
Right?
And I tried to keep it in 10 minutes. I apparently went 12 minutes, as I was told. Nothing else from the
You're
city?
the chairman, so.
There it is. Nothing else from the city then?
No.
Okay. Casitas Water District, anything going on over there you want to talk about?
Well, the lake is at 34.6% full, depending on your perspective. The elevation is 489 feet, .29, which represents 82.202 acre feet left in storage. Our average distribution from the treatment plant is 12,000 acre feet, and let's add another 5,000 to that for evaporation. That means there's plus or minus 5 years of water left in the lake.
Okay, and what was the acre feet again, if I could ask?
80?
The total in storage,
Yes.
82,222.
All right. I wrote that as 82, and I go, 82 can't be right. 82,222.
Russ, I had a question, if you wouldn't mind.
202.
At what point, even though there's 32% left or 34% left, at what point is it just done? Okay? Because somebody asked me that question the other day. Obviously, if it's at 0, it's done. But this guy was actually a hydrologist. He was saying, well, I can tell you it ain't going to work at 3% or 5%. I mean, do you guys know where that number is?
About 7,000 acre feet.
That's
It
about
gets-
when it's done?
Yeah,
Okay.
you lose head, and it's hard to pump it back into the
So
distribution.
7,000 would be
Mic on.
about 10%?
Oh, I don't know. Don't make me do math,
Okay.
okay?
So then from the 82,000 acre feet you have right now, the answer is at 7,000 feet, it's hard. The water's not coming out of the lake.
Yeah,
That's a big move.
When are you going to hit that?
5 years,
Okay. Oh, so that's the calculation.
yeah.
Anything else about the lake specifically?
It's a beautiful spot,
All right.
make your reservations, There's
No
no,
recreation, no skin touching the water.
And no additional evaporation.
We have a report also here regarding the wells and the statuses on those. I have it here in front of me. Do you want to go ahead and read that information into the record, Russ?
let's see, which do you want?
I have asked for these, for this report to be cumulative, so we are looking at the data from March 9th, or I'm sorry,
Well, the most recent one is the 9th of March, 2018, San Antonio, number 4. The static level was 172 feet. The dynamic level was 340. The average flow was 190 gallons per minute. Anything else?
well number 6.
Number 6, the static was 233.6 feet. Dynamic was 305.2 feet. The average flow was 234 gallons per minute.
Okay. At our last meeting, we asked a question about what Casitas was currently doing with those wells. You gave the impression that there might be some work being done on them. Can you talk, do we need to, I'd like to get a handle on what Casitas is doing with these wells in the short term and the long term. Is that something we should put on the agenda for a separate item and have someone talk to us about that?
Yeah,
Or
but-
what do you recommend for us to get a full understanding of if you're gonna read, how you wanna maximize the production from these wells? Because the chatter I get is that there's something else to maximize out of that for
Well,
Casitas.
that's a legacy from Golden State. But we've hired a consultant to do an evaluation of those wells,
Okay,
all of them, so that we know what it is that we have to do. When we know what we have to do, that might be a good time for a discussion.
okay, so right now then the answer is Casitas has a consultant they've hired. You're gonna get recommendations from that consultant, and at that point, maybe there's the appropriate time for the consultant to come in and say, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing with those wells.
I think that's what I just said.
All right, but between now and then, there's nothing else going with the wells other than you're using them as they currently are brought to you, and this is what we're seeing out of them.
Well, other than finding funky things that Golden State did to keep them running in a bad condition, we're fixing what we can, yeah.
All right, just wanted, because I just wanted to make sure that I understood exactly where we were going with that.
Do we have an idea of what then is, when you said between now and then? Is that in this
When we
month?
get the evaluation report, Johnny.
Right, but is there an estimated time when that might occur?
Yeah, but I don't have the Gantt chart
Oh, okay.
to tell you.
All right, question, go ahead.
Yeah, Russ, does that mean that Casitas Lake is still supplying 30% of the Ojai water at this time until you get that work done by the consultant?
Of course.
But as I understand it, that's historically the case anyway, regardless if the consultant fixes, regardless if anything changes on that well, Casitas has historically supplied 30% of the water for that area. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, but what I heard at the last meeting was Casitas was no longer gonna do that.
Well, we're trying to evaluate how we can better utilize the well field
Right.
so that we don't take water out of the lake. But
And that's
give us some time, Eric.
the way the question was
Yeah.
about the consultant and the 30% still coming out of the lake.
Yeah, you're still gonna get water until we can figure out how to maximize those wells.
Okay. While we're talking about this, real quick, are we using the spreading grounds? I know that they're fully permitted. Who's in charge of opening that gate, and how does that work? Does anyone-
Watershed Protection District, and they couldn't use it this last time because it broke down.
Well, and we didn't get a foot through the weir, and now it's not going through the weir, it's going to the west side of the weir. But it wouldn't have made it to the foot anyway.
It's weird, never mind.
Okay, so right now then, even with the rain we've had, that settling is not being utilized?
That's
We
correct.
haven't met the level.
All right. When we meet the level, we'll know about it. Because we're gonna, who could tell us what's that?
If there's not too much sediment and crud in the water that's going into the screens
Mhm.
to plug it up, and then they have to go clean it.
And they've done that once.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Would you like me to, I actually asked Elizabeth Martinez this exact question, and I got an email response from that. Have you gotten that email?
I did.
Okay, have you shared it with the rest of the board members? Okay, and her email response was the problem was clogging. And they were trying to fix it, and her exact words were looking at short-term and long-term fixes.
All right.
And she didn't mention sufficient flow. She mentioned it clogged when they tried to use it because there was so much debris in the flow. So I don't know exactly what the actual facts are. I'm only responding to, maybe they should share her email with everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jordan today, and he said that he was going to talk to her soon.
Okay. The reason that I bring this up is that a senior candidate had asked me why it wasn't being utilized. So the reason it's not being utilized is it's clogging up, so that's the answer to that question.
Well, and there has to be a certain level.
Certain level and,
It's 1 foot of flow under the Grand Avenue Bridge.
In the notch.
Yeah, in the notch.
within one, wow, okay. There you
for
go.
The city of Ventura.
All right, any other director announcements, reports? All right, item 4 is the basin status report. Jordan Kerr couldn't be here tonight, but I do have an email from him. I'll read into the record. The valley floor has seen 6.6 inches of rain to date since October 1st. This is a 39.1% of normal. Recent rains have increased infiltration capacity of some local streams by clearing out ash and fine material. We will have an updated water level data on the wells on the 29th of March through the end of February. Had water levels of 190.22 feet in the key well, little change since December of 2017. So I suspect that with this rain, we're going to be seeing the water table going up because even the small rains in January increased the table 5 feet. So we've had more than the small rains from January, so we should be seeing some movement on that. That's all we have on the basin report itself, unless there's a specific question regarding it. Okay. Also note that we have a little time limit tonight. We have to be out of here at 5:45 due to a scheduling conflict with somebody who's previously in this room. I believe at 6 o'clock. Anything that we don't complete now will carry over to our next meeting. Public comments for items not appearing on the agenda. I have one public comment for an agenda item. Is there anything for a non-agenda item that anyone wants to comment about? There being none, we'll move on to the next item. Item 6 is consent items. We have a single consent item right now, that is approving the minutes of our meeting of January 25th, 2018.
Move they be approved?
Second.
I have a first and a second. May I get a roll call vote, please?
President Breen,
Yes?
Director Finch,
Yes.
Director Baggerly,
Yes.
Director Johnston.
Yes.
The minutes are accepted as presented. Yes, sir.
I think, just for protocol, and most agencies do this, we keep the president's vote last so that he can break a tie either way, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that power.
Yeah, you want,
I appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
the second,
Yes,
yeah, I did.
you had a question?
No, only a comment that
Yes, sir.
normally it's random in order for the controversial issues not to always fall to the same person. But if Dan likes that, that's fine with me.
So far, we have, even though there's 4 of us, and we could easily tie, we've always all been on the same page, and I appreciate that. Let's move then to our action items, item on agenda number 7. A would be the treasurer's report for January and February 2018, budget spreadsheet, and the extraction charges by period. Let's see, get that in front of me here.
extraction charges by period, is that new sheet I gave you,
Yes.
is correct.
Does anybody have any comment, questions? Was there any trends here that we need to look at, Cece, that you noticed in the numbers? John, is there anything that you've noticed in these numbers?
Substantially a lot more revenue than this time last year.
Yeah, well, if there's going to be maintenance on the San Antonio Creek Spreading Ground project, we can expect to get a bill from Watershed Protection District for our fair share one of these days. So that'll be coming.
Okay, and our fair share is already defined, so when that bill comes in, it is our fair share.
Do I have to answer that?
I'm sure it's written down somewhere. Any comments then on item number 7A? I recall, I'm having a long day. Do we have to accept these as a vote, or is these just items that we're bringing in as presented? I can't recall what we did here.
They're received and filed.
Received and filed and moved on?
The action, The consent items or the action items?
The action items.
They're all taken separately.
Voted on separately for acceptance?
Yes.
All right. Like I said, it's been a long day today, I apologize. Entertaining motions to accept item 7A as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a,
Well, have we
If there-
seen the whole board?
Aren't any questions?
the most important thing here is this extraction that we're seeing, and we're finally catching up to ourselves here.
You need a second?
Oh, you got a first and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Director Johnston?
Yes.
Director Baggerly?
Yes.
Director Finch?
Yes.
President Breen?
Yes. Going on to item 7B, the annual report requirement associated with groundwater sustainability plan, alternative due April 1st, 2018. The suggestion here is that the board direct John Mundy to prepare the annual report requirement for the groundwater sustainability plan alternative.
Can I comment on this?
Yes, I would encourage you to, please. Thank you.
I'd like to ask you to amend that motion for this recommendation to myself and Jordan, because it's gonna take both of us to do that work. The reality is, we're already working on it
Okay.
because of the timing, and so I think right now we're about 65% complete with it. Jordan's got some tables and graphs and things that need to be updated. I've updated several graphs and pulled a lot of information together from prior reports, so, I just need to have Jordan take a look at it and get his work done, and we'll get it filed by the 1st of April.
Okay, my next question is, this is something that is not a multi-month project. This is I mean, you've been working on it, I know, extensively, but it's something that can be executed before April 1.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a quick and easy one this year. I'm not sure it'll be set the precedent for the future reports, but at least we're gonna get it done by April 1st, that's the goal. And then this next year, we'll have time, because the water year ends September 30. We can start pulling the information together in the fall, and then get the report pulled together and submit it by April 1st in 2019. So, this is pretty quickly this year. Next year, we should have close to 6 months to work on it.
Okay, and this is a plan that is not, you present it and it's done, it is not open to it's not open to public comment? How does that work? when
It's a
we
it's a report.
Just a report, okay.
Normally, we would bring it to the board,
Mhm.
and the board would review it, and the public would have an opportunity, and we'd bring it early enough so the public can comment. But it's a requirement under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act.
Okay,
So annually, you have to provide a report on water conditions within the basin by April 1st of each year.
Okay.
And so it's a lot of factual information, so I don't expect a lot of controversy on the document itself, just because it's facts. And
are we gonna see the report before it's filed?
if, the goal was to have it to you, if you hold a board meeting the end of this month, on the 29th, we get it to you, but we're gonna need you to authorize posting it by the 1st of April.
Yeah.
I have to post it on the Department of Water Resources website.
Okay, so the appropriate action then would be tonight to pass a motion to allow you to do it, and then put it on the agenda for our next meeting, for us to accept and approve it,
Right.
and then for you to file on April 1, and then if we have other public questions about it, to maybe carry it through to another agenda item going forward, maybe wants to question us about it?
Yeah, and I think it would be good to have the public look at it, at least, they may have some thoughts about future reports.
They'll have 72 hours, just like the board does.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. But basically what I'm saying is that just because we're kind of in a time crunch here, and if anyone's got any questions, I want to make sure that we have the opportunity, even though it's been filed, there's nothing we can change we can't go back and amend it, but if there's questions, I want to make sure we make the
might
time
be
for somebody to
able
ask.
But at least you get it filed.
Yeah, oh no, we're gonna get it filed,
First.
right.
It's an electronic report,
Okay.
and we will file it through the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act website through DWR. So we don't have to mail it to them or anything else, just attached in the system.
Okay, so the chair will, yes, sir.
John and Jordan, and I know that both the names have got to be in there, because they're the ones doing the work. But I hope that you design it so that future reports can just have the new facts and figures plugged into the report as a template that we can use every time.
That was the goal in getting this together. There's a lot of language in there that's good for multiple years and past
Right.
years. but we'll update the tables, we'll update the graphs and charts, and then there'll just be some additional pros on what happened between the prior water year and this current water year.
Exactly, okay.
Okay, then we'll entertain a motion to have John Mundy and Jordan Cure prepare the annual report requirement for the groundwater sustainability plan alternative that is due April 1st, 2018.
I'll move.
Second.
The first and a second. First from Mr. Finch, second from Mr. Johnston. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Director Johnston?
Yes.
Director Baggerly?
Yes,
Director Finch?
Yes.
President Breen?
Yes. Look forward to seeing that. All right, we're moving right along here. Item 7C, which is the groundwater management plan. It is hot off the press. We were just presented the plan. I'm touching it and looking and haven't had an opportunity to read it yet. None of us have. I have a couple of technical questions here. What is the amount of days when it says a notice for public comment? What does that exactly mean? What do we have to do to make this so that it's available for public comment, and how long is that period?
I think I don't recall a number of days in the legislation,
I don't either.
and so I think, you have to update your groundwater management plan every 5 years, as I recall. So I think you've got plenty of time to have a public review. I would recommend maybe 60 days.
All right, so
If you wanna
basically.
go that long, and
All right, so what would happen here is that we would leave it open for comment for 60 days, and that means that we would come back to accept it and approve it in, not the end of this month, not the next meeting, but the one following that?
what you might wanna, just suggestion, again, I don't believe it's required, you might wanna have a hearing. And so when the public, maybe you have a hearing after 30 days, the public has an opportunity to comment in front of the board about the report, and then we've at least got another 30 days before you adopt it.
All right, so we have a suggestion being a special hearing that is not a normal meeting,
That
or
can be part of the board meeting.
part of the regular board meeting?
Sure.
All right, so we can make this an agenda item at the meeting that is held in April, last Thursday of April, and notify it then, and then open it up for public comment at that point, and then approve it at the following meeting after that,
In May.
in May? Does that seem
That
like
would be my suggestion.
the schedule that we can work with? It's important that everybody, just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to say what they want to say about it from the public standpoint. And it
Sure.
seems like there's plenty of opportunity, and we're not ramming it, we're not forcing it into the next meeting.
And we wanna get out a notice that there's a public review that's open as of probably within the next week.
Okay, so then we're gonna take this agenda item then, carry it forward to our next meeting, open it up for public comment at that, and notice it when we,
Not at our next meeting,
well, I'm sorry, at the
April.
April meeting. Correct,
Thank you, Jim.
thank you, because we do have a meeting later this month, right, okay. And then it'll be open for comment then, and then we'll review it in May for final approval. Okay, well, then that's what we're going to do. I don't need any,
And I
there.
left a message for Jordan today for a technique that I've seen used for other large documents. Instead of having to go to Dropbox for this entire thing, have him cut it into chapters or sections, so you can download smaller files than the larger files.
It's only 44 pages long.
Well-
How much smaller do you want it?
Is this it? Are there any bigger maps? Is there anything else that's gonna go with it?
There's a few graphs in here and, plates, but that tends to
So
take
it's-
up a lot of memory.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, I just used to using, I'm used to looking at 400-page documents, so this one looked manageable to me. But if we want to make it smaller, certainly, yeah.
You've probably got a faster CPU than I do.
Run with it. So how would that, so you're gonna talk to Jordan about that and the best way to
I
present
left
that?
him a message.
Okay, all right.
Did he
Anything to make it easier for people to absorb, download, and understand, we're all about it.
Typically, we post on the website, but again, I'm not sure if that'll be directly on the website or there needs to be a link that takes you someplace else, either Dropbox or something.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
All right, item 7D, grant opportunities. Board to discuss grant opportunities. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I've got I did have a 7F, but go ahead, you got a question?
Just real quick, Dan. So when do you sense you'll post it? This week? If it's draft and ready, it should be ready for posting, right?
Yeah, we just got it. We'll get it posted as soon as possible.
I would suggest posting as soon as possible, but it should get a notice in the local paper that it's available for public review.
Okay.
Okay. And I will see you and I'll coordinate and make sure that happens. Any other comments about the draft and how we propose to get it out into the public and on the items? We're good there? All right. Grant opportunities. I am remiss in not having brought to your attention that I attended a meeting down with Supervisor Bennett and a host of other individuals. Mayor Johnston was there also, where we talked about grants that were available, a way to work with larger parties to get those grants. I have been unable to attend either of the two follow-up meetings for that.
There's a meeting on Friday.
And there's a meeting on Friday, unfortunately, that I'm traveling, I won't be able to attend. Has anyone attended any of the last two meetings that can bring us
Yeah,
up
I
to
have,
speed? Then I'll let you run with this, go, whoever.
Well,
Well,
there's not.
they haven't been
Go ahead.
presented yet. We're going to hear about it on Friday.
Okay, so at this point right now, it's just, on Friday, you guys are gonna hear about what grants might be available and try and,
Well, what we did hear before is the same thing that we're going to hear on Friday, and that was Regina Hirsch and her assistant or employee with that little book of every
Okay.
grant that's available.
the city, I'm sorry, so the county did pass a resolution that asked us to also sign on to that resolution as supporters of this project.
The non-binding.
The non-binding, right.
Agreement to.
It didn't get into our agenda item yet. I'm gonna ask it to get onto our agenda item at the next meeting, and then we can discuss whether or not we want to officially sign that letter and be part of that. Because right now, we're just kind of unofficially being in the meetings. We've not agreed to be part of any non-binding. I guess non-binding is non-binding. We don't have to do anything to be non-binding.
Well, it started out that there was.
We want to be good citizens and, sign our name up for it, and, a united front and all of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, when it was first presented, there was no requirement that anybody do anything with it, just a statement of
Right, just a
of what we were gonna do. And then a couple of the organizations there felt like they should go back to their board, and I know we took it to the city council adopted it. We'll meet on Friday. If with or without our concurrence, they will proceed, and I think we all are of the same mind that non-binding, if you didn't even have such a thing as an MOU, I mean, it's more symbolic. We'll see what we learn on Friday when
The
Regina.
Casitas is also.
Yeah, you're on it too. So there's plenty of consensus among the four of us then that that's an appropriate place for us to be. It's an appropriate place for us to listen, and anything we can get out of it.
We want to know what's, of course, we're going for different reasons or representing different groups. We
Right.
just stay informed.
Okay,
This isn't the only one out there, but it's a possibility.
okay. Just want to make sure that if there's an opportunity, and again, I should have been at those. I'm glad you two were there because I
Yeah,
just.
and Bill Wyrick's been attending along with me. Bill, we don't really have anything more until after Friday.
I think Friday's gonna be.
Yeah, so,
All right,
okay,
all right.
we're up to date then.
All right, well, we're up to date on that. There we go, that was easy. Item 7E, discuss hiring a general manager for the OBGMA. Russ, you have been working
I
on
have.
that, so why don't you tell us
I
what you
don't know
think?
how long ago it was. I saw John and his wife walking past me at the Ventura County Fair in August. And I said, "Hey, John, I've got an idea. You could help us out at OBGMA." And so he hired on as a consultant. As things get more and more complicated for this agency, it needs direction, organization, and we can give Cece a little bit of help because now she's got her plate full with 2 GSAs. So the idea is to hire John as a consultant again, but with the title as part-time general manager. John?
Yeah, and I've sent a draft agreement over to Peter for review. I'm not anticipating more than 20 hours a month. I mean, it's not a lot, and I'm not trying to bleed the agency of funds. But there's some questions that need to be answered, and Peter's reviewing the agreement. So the thought would be, is once he gets a review of that, I'd like to get that to the board to review the agreement. I'll give you my resume in addition. And if you desire, we can bring that back to the April meeting for your consideration.
Okay, anybody have any additional questions that they're gonna want to make sure are included in this contract that we may or may not know about yet? We haven't reviewed what Peter's looking at, so is there any particular thing that we all know of from hiring in the past that we wanna make sure we're dealing with?
Hard to start from a blank slate. It's easy
Yeah.
to go from.
Yeah,
Something in front of you.
and as Russ said, it's still considered a consulting agreement, so you're not on the hook for payroll, and
You're
you're
an
not on the
independent
hook.
contractor.
Payroll taxes, I would end up paying self-employment tax. The difference is between my contract now and the one I'm asking you to consider, I have formed an LLC. So, so that'll be in there.
Take advantage of that new tax law. So then we'll carry this forward to the next meeting, and in the next meeting, you'll come with an agreement that Peter's drafted for us to review.
Yeah, I'd like to get that out to you sooner than
Get it
than
to us
the
in front of
agenda.
the agreement
as
so that
quickly,
where
yeah.
it's not fresh to us when we first sit down here. That's probably the best way to go.
I'll work with CC and we'll get that out to you.
All right. Got a few minutes here. Item 7F, which is the invitation to participate in the economic study of drought impacts. Now, I was given, is this what I'm looking at right here, CC?
No, that's
That's,
8.
that's down the road?
That is this
Oh,
one
you're right.
here.
Okay, I apologize for that. Let's start with, Bruce, do you have something you want to talk about on this? Is you want to get us rolling here as to what we're looking at?
Update you on it. We thought it would be a really good idea to
Just real
have.
quick, I only do it because we're being recorded, full names, so
Oh,
everybody
yeah,
knows what
Bruce
we're talking
Kubler, I'm representing the Ventura River Water District. We thought it'd be a good idea to help get a momentum going for connecting with the State Water Project to have some economic assessment of what would happen if the lake continues going down and might ultimately dry up, or where it might be in stage 4, stage 5 for extended periods of time, and what the economic effect that would have. So we sent a letter out to various people to indicate our interest in participating in this kind of an economic study. We sent letters to the Ojai Valley Inn, the City of Ojai, Miners Oaks Water Districts, the Farm Bureau Federation, and we've gotten positive response from Alex Kim at the Ojai Valley Inn is interested in participating. John Christ has been out of town, just got back yesterday, so we haven't gotten a reply back from him. We haven't gotten a reply back from Miners Oaks yet either, but I would just encourage, it seemed like it's really important to get this information out, what the consequences could be if we're in these stage 4 and 5 for a long time. It might even help you folks in justifying your groundwater desalter, if you want to go that way, in terms of as the level goes down, you've got to get rid of the poor quality water, makes more water available and storage space and things. So anyway, I just encourage you to participate with us to get some economic information out there so the community can understand what the consequences would be of this kind of a serious situation.
So is your agency going to lead that?
We took the initiative to get it going, so we're waiting now to see what kind of support we can get from other agencies that have an interest in doing this.
Who would be compiling the economic study?
We would hire a consultant to do it. There was a consultant that did it for Fox Canyon, I think. They did a study. They paid $20,000 or $30,000 and came up with some kind of an adverse effect. If they didn't go ahead with certain kind of groundwater management plan, it could have a negative effect of something like $100 million on the economy of the county. So we would use a consultant like that, and we're looking at maybe a cost of $10,000 or $20,000, maybe 30. I don't know. If we have 5 participants, it might involve between $5,000 or $10,000 per participant. I think the city council it's going to be on your agenda sometime. That was my understanding. I don't know when that would be.
It hasn't come to us yet, but
Okay.
it's clearly it's something that we're going to have to look at. Everybody's going to have to look at over the next. All of the solutions that I've seen so far are over 3, 4, 5 years for the near term, and what the Casitas information has been that if we end up in stage 4 and 5, that'll end down to be domestic water almost exclusively. I mean, that's a huge impact on the economy of the area, so somebody needs to be doing it.
Russ?
Yeah, Bruce, just an off-the-cuff idea. okay? Instead of launching into a separate study, why don't you ask for the economic impacts of the drought be included in the notice of preparation for a draft EIR for the
For Ventura.
intertie, yeah. And let Kennedy Jenks do it for you.
Good idea. I think Bert's gonna go to the meeting tomorrow night, maybe you could bring that up.
Good.
Do we include any economic impacts in any of our reports that we do? I'm trying to recall if I've read anything about, do we ever include any of that discussion when we're doing our groundwater report, or we don't
Nope.
get any of that? Okay.
We don't.
Does Casitas do any of that in their reporting?
No.
All right, and
Nope.
then, so has there ever been anything in the valley that any of us recall that's looked at this issue? You know, the impacts of drought in the Ojai Valley, is this the first time we've considered looking at it?
The cost analysis that Richard Hedges just put out on the Water Advisory Group's study had a little bit of that, but it isn't in depth.
Okay.
And I don't think it would get very far by itself. It's too thin.
All right, so does this agency have a desire to, you know, support what the Ventura River Water District wants to do? I mean, is it something that, you know, do we feel we need to know the answer to this question?
Well, I think a lot more information is needed. I'm all for knowing it, but I think the credentials of who's putting it together are key in my mind to
Right.
supporting it or not supporting it.
Right. Who does the work and what the cost is sort of,
The idea would be to, for the participants that are interested in doing this, that we get together, have one member from each of the representative agencies and get together and find a consultant or two and do some interviews and scope it out and do that. So it's, you want to be a participant, you need to be involved with the study up front, I think, something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that, and the final, it depends on what it is and who it is and how much, in my mind.
Well, just as an aside, today at the Casitas Municipal Water District meeting, we had the notice of preparation for an EIR for the intertie. And I brought up a few issues that would be relevant, just like the one I suggested to you. And I just had a senior moment and forgot what I was gonna say. It'll come back in the shower later.
Then what I suggest then is that, Bruce, maybe you could pencil an outline out for what this is supposed to look like, bring it back to us so that we can have an idea how you know, do we have to offer up one of us is to be on a committee to talk about it and report back to the board? And then we'll make it an agenda item and look at whatever you bring to us so that we can have something to start looking at the details of that. So we have a desire to have those answers, so if you could bring a way for us to get those answers and involve us, we'll look at it.
Well, Bert was looking for a response by March 20th. Can we at least say maybe, or a potential? Give us a little bit more information? How's that?
All right. Yeah, because it sounds like we got a volunteer for you right here.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Anything else we want to talk about on that particular subject? We're on item 7F.
No.
All right.
Thanks for bringing it forward, though,
Yeah,
Bruce.
appreciate that, thank you. Item 7G would be our next meeting. It's scheduled for March 29th, 2018. That's our regular scheduled meeting, right? That would be the last Thursday of the month. All right.
And as I understand, you're gonna adjourn this meeting to that date, is that correct, CC?
Correct.
Isn't that what Peter?
That is
Yours.
apparently right. I just want to make sure that I'm actually going to be in town. I'll just get on an earlier flight out of Chicago. I'll get here. I'm in Chicago that morning, but I'll get home. I'll get back by then. So that will work. No one else has had a conflict with that because there's going to be a lot of things going on. So we're all good for that particular time on that
Yes.
meeting. Okay, what I'm going to do right now, because we're running up against our time, well, we actually could probably get through this. If you want to, real quick on item 8, which is notice of preparation of a draft environmental impact report. Who brought this to the who brought this item to the agenda?
It was sent to us by the Ventura City,
Okay,
the City of Ventura.
so basically this is an FYI.
Yes.
Right.
The comment period ends March 30th. Today at the Casitas meeting, I brought up the fact that growth inducement is not going to be reviewed at all in the potential impacts of this project. And I also mentioned that there needs to be alternatives in an environmental impact report, and the Water Advisory Group project could be an alternative to this project. And also the State Water Project water through Santa Barbara and Carpinteria down the coast to the Casitas facility could also be another. If you have any other ideas about potential impacts, and like Bruce just learned, he could probably put in the economic impacts of the drought related to the project as well. Those are things that can be talked to tomorrow night at the city council meeting, and I believe it starts at 6, but I'm not sure.
Does this agency desire or historically make comments to these types of EIR reports?
No, I've never.
So we just accept them, we understand that they are, we make it available to the public and let them know, and if they want to do something, they do, but we don't make any comments on this particular plan. All right. Then we'll take it for information purposes only unless there's questions regarding it. Okay, we got a few minutes here. Are there any committee reports? Okay, I have just a couple of, so before we adjourn, just one little thing I wanted to talk about getting on the agenda for next, at some point, which would be the presentation that we've all seen at least once from the I've lost their name and I apologize. The presentation you saw regarding the Three Sisters plan, for lack of the more detailed word for it. Russ, what's the full name of this plan they're talking about?
Water Advisory Group.
The Water Advisory Group has made a presentation. They call it the Three Sisters plan. I'd like to get it on the agenda for us to discuss it and either support this concept or not support this concept. In order for us to do that, I think we may need to make that presentation to the board, even though all of us have probably seen it. Mr. Finch, have you seen this presentation? All right, so we'll need to make it so that so my suggestion is we bring them over here, we ask for an abbreviated presentation so that it's on the public record, we've all seen it, and then have an agenda item to determine whether or not we want to support such a plan or not. Is there any problems with us putting that on the agenda that way?
I'll just have to sit through it again.
Well, I've seen it twice, and you will have seen it for 4 or 5 times. All right, so that's an important plan. That's something that's organically come to the surface by folks that are independent of the water boards and us. It's the same folks that a lot of the same folks that put the Ojai Flow together, and it's a proposal for figuring out how to get Casitas on. To get state water better allocated in the larger regional area. Is that a best way to describe it, I guess? So we're going to put that on the tie-in in Cayugas. There you go. So we're going to put that on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll get them in here for a presentation, and then we'll have a discussion as to whether or not we want to support that going forward. Is there any other items that we need to discuss today, or any other comments from the public? This is an abbreviated meeting. There's a few things we need to discuss, but these next 2 meetings are going to be important for us. Whereas we're going to be having public comments on our draft, we'll get this presentation on the Three Sisters, we'll be seeing our final groundwater management plan, we'll be reviewing, bringing on a new general manager, and I imagine that between now and then, we'll have some better water news because of the rain. I suspect that looks like we're getting rain. So whoever's been praying is working. I guess that can be public policy.
Even more on Tuesday.
Even more on Tuesday. Yeah. With that being said,
Before you adjourn, real quick, just
Yes,
1
sir.
minute. Just want to make sure I understand what we're going to bring to you on the 29th, aside from the normal stuff. Did you want to see this resolution of support on the county grant efforts? Is that what I understood?
yeah, we probably ought to
Take a look. We got to,
non-binding.
yeah.
Might
So
as
we
well get it officially.
need to
in
dig
front of
that up and figure out. Annual report we'll have for
Your
the
employment.
public, for you to consider and approve. Groundwater management plan, public hearing, and then
your contract.
Well, I was thinking that wouldn't go till April, but
Okay,
that's up to you.
April's fine, that's fine.
It's up to you.
That's fine.
Economic analysis, and then you want to look at this presentation by the Water Advisory Group.
Right, and then you and I can regroup and make sure we get all the agenda items
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
prep it up.
Okay, I just want to.
All right, unless there's any questions, we'll adjourn this meeting. It is 5:45. Thank you for attending. Y'all have a good afternoon and evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I hope someone's gonna come pick me up because my son took my car. Drove off with my truck and I got abandoned.